theme for this meeting, as I hope you will have noticed, is if the shoe fits. We're talking shoes. Did you know? And I've raided the cupboards at home to bring a few pairs to help us this morning as we, each one, consider what shoes, what role God might be inviting us to embrace as we leave this place, as He sends us from this place. So, a few shoes. But first, a story about two shoe salesmen. They were sent to Africa to open up new sales territories. After a few days, the first salesman sent a message to head office. Bad news. I'm coming home. Nobody wears shoes around here. They all go barefoot. That must have been Alistair and his pals. 2 weeks later, a joyful email came through from the second shoe salesman. And he said, brilliant news. I have enclosed 100 orders. Nobody has shoes. It's a boundless field, opportunity. Come on, expect more orders to come soon. I like that story because it reminds us of how we can look at situations in our world and in our life, and see them in two different ways. We can see the negative and we can see the positive. And God invites us to embrace the good news, rather than be constrained by the bad news all around us. And so this morning, what is God saying to you? Where are those shoes? Which shall we start with? Let's start with the Jesus sandals, as one of my daughters calls. And I'm not saying whose shoes these are because I'll get into trouble, but you might guess. Okay, these are the Jesus sandals. Who might wear these? Which Christian worker might wear these, do you think? Yes? Alistair's. Oops. What sort of Christian worker would wear these sorts of shoes, do you think? These sandals. Okay, people that go somewhere where maybe it's a bit warmer. Yes? We'll put them down there. Nice leather sandals, the Jesus sandals. And they kind of remind us this morning of the missionary, those who are sent to leave the comfort of where they are and to serve in places of great need. That can be in their local community or to the ends of the earth. And Jesus said, you will remember, I was hungry and you fed me. Whenever you did this for the least of these, you did it for me. So they're the Jesus sandals, as we are reminded that Jesus was sent. Jesus came all the way down from heaven to our earth, and He sends us out. Let's see the next pair. You could do. Come join me, Major. Okay, anyone have some of these at home? Yes? Yeah, the nice comfortable slippers. That was one of the things we discovered when we came to this country. People take their shoes off and put slippers on when they get into the house. That was new, and I must admit we like that custom. And of course, these remind us of the Christian carer that is called to go into places, safe spaces for others who are in need. And maybe it's in a children's home or an old age home, or maybe by offering hospitality in their own home. It's a wonderful thing to be able to do is to wear these slippers as we share the good news of God's love and kindness and grace. And I remember reading recently that Mother Teresa said, she was one of my heroes of the faith, and she once said, if you want to change the world, if you want to transform the world, go home and love your family. Have you heard that? It's true, right? And we can all do that, wherever we are. So, the nice comfortable slippers for those who are called to care. Right, which one's next? Here we have the trendy trainers. Not mine. I've given up trying to be trendy. These are the trendy trainers. Who would wear these, do you think? Not in my family, I mean the Christian younger people, or perhaps people that are called to minister with the young. Those who run and jump and, go canoeing and camping as a way of reaching out to our younger people. And we are blessed by those who do it in this core and who do it across the division and across the territory. So they're the trendy trainers. Let me put those there. Thank you. And then we have what one of my daughters assures me every person working in the hospital wears nowadays. Okay? Have you seen these? Crocs, but special Crocs. Yes? Anyone have any of these? Wear these? Yes? Okay. And these remind us... Yeah, not quite the same. These remind us of those who are called to care for people who are in places of deep distress. Those who are sick in hospitals. Those who are walking through the valley of the shadow of death. And they also reminded me this week of those who, like our lovely Rolf, works as chaplains in hospitals, but also in other places. And I don't know if Rolf, I can't see him. Oh, there he is. I don't know if he wears something like that, but no, he doesn't. I can tell you where you can get a great pair. But did you read that wonderful article last week in the whole spread that we had in our Salvationist? And there was a quote in there that really spoke to me, and it said that it is more likely than in any other area for the unsaved to hear the good news than through the chaplaincy service, okay? Because it's so far-reaching. It doesn't just work in hospitals, but in prisons, in airports, and locally in all sorts of different specialist areas. A wonderful ministry, the opportunity to be a chaplain, whether paid, part-time, full-time. I wonder if these are the shoes that Jesus is inviting you to don as you take the good news of God's love and care and hope. And hope. Well, now, I'm doing some heavy lifting this morning, but there's one last pair of shoes that I wanted us to think about this morning on this Candidates Sunday, as we think about the very unique call to officership. And of course, officership can involve all of those sorts of ministries. But for me, when I joined the army in the 80s, the shoes of a Salvation Army officer were, and I'm using Alistair's because he's only got one really smart pair of shoes, the black leather shoes, preferably with a really bright shine on them. And I remember when I attended as a teenager the first Salvation Army salvation meetings, they told me about this fishing Do you remember it? Officers used to come fishing during the response time at the end after the sermon. Do you remember? And my mother, who was a Salvationist in her youth, before she got married to my dad, she would tell me how the young people, as soon as the response song was sung and the fishing started, they'd keep their heads down and they'd pray that the officer wouldn't walk towards them, and they'd suddenly see these black shoes standing in front of them. We don't do that anymore, do we? But these shoes, kind of for me, speak of that unique calling that is ours. And of course, officers wear all sorts of shoes now. That unique calling to make it our ambition, the souls of men. The souls of men, to preach and to teach and disciple and walk with people. Sunday all the way through to Saturday, every day of the week. And not everyone is called to it. It's not for everyone. The need isn't the call. God must call you individually, personally, to fulfill that role. But by Jove, if he calls you, if he has called you to be a Salvation Army officer, there's no joy until you say yes. And I know that. I know that for myself. And such a blessing. We went to see some retired officers this week, and they said the thing they miss most in retirement are the people. The people. The joy of the fellowship. The joy of walking with people through the highs and through the lows. And we know that. It is such a blessing. But it's not everyone is called in that way. But this morning, as we recognize that all too few people have been sent out from our training college in recent years, and we're talking, single digits on occasion, God's question for you is, what shoes will you don as you leave this place in the months and years to come? Which shoe fits you, your giftings, your passion, your ambition? I wonder. Being in the home, loving all those who come through the doors. Being out there, trendy, exploring new ways of sharing the gospel, preaching the word. Getting out and being deeply practical in the caring out in hospitals and prisons and on the high street and businesses. The Jesus sandals, to go to places where people have never heard the name of Jesus, and that can be in our neighborhood, or it can be on the other side of the world. Or that final opportunity, a calling to the training college. You know what they say, don't you? If the shoe fits, wear it. Wear it. If the shoe fits, wear it. Wear it. No joy, no sense of fulfillment until we say to God, until we say to Jesus, yes, I hear you. I hear you. Yes, Lord, I will go.